Welcome to the Class Video Spotlight Series. I'm Robbie Bolo, Senior Insights Director, and I'm joined today by Caleb Harris, a Research Director in EMR and ERP implementation, as well as security and privacy. Thanks for joining me today, Caleb. I know we recently had a first look report on Avaap, who's a vendor in ERP implementation. This has been a very changing segment in healthcare and also here at Class.
Yes, it has. So ERP is one that we're seeing a lot of energy in, especially in implementation, a lot of decisions around happening in that area now. And Avaap is one. Earlier this year, divested their Infor business. So historically, they focus most of the work we have validated has been Infor related. Moving forward, they are actually working on Workday specifically, and that's as we've seen. There's a lot of energy, especially with Workday and what's happened recently.
So historically, Class had a business solutions implementation segment. We discontinued that summer of 2021. Now you find ERP business transformation and implementation leadership, ERP implementation leadership, the HIT staffing that existed just for EMR now includes EMR and ERP. I'm assuming this is a reaction to just some increased market energy in ERP implementation.
So I really think it'd be helpful if we did a quick overview of those three new segments. First, on the ERP business transformation and implementation leadership, that's really where they're coming in and not only leading the engagement, but also that change management business transformation is part of the engagement. So we're seeing typically your large SI firms, Avaap is one that we're seeing trying to get in that. Avaap recently acquired Navigator, that was in 2019, where it really had that business transformation, change management type component. And then the ERP implementation is more so where it's more of your traditional software implementation, where it lacks that change management component. And lastly, the HIT staffing, it's where there's a handful of resources that we're looking to have a particular need and or skill set for that particular implementation. So we thought it'd be beneficial and most helpful for our providers to have it segmented out of what type of implementation and what type of partner are you needing to help best position you to be successful.
So we saw about a decade or so ago, the new laws, the new government mandates, High-Tech Act, meaningful use, things like that. We start to see EMR explode, right? After that, it was ERP. And if we look more recently, we've seen in recent years now some of that more EMR implementation as provider organizations are making switches to a different EMR. Are we seeing the same thing now happen in ERP? I mean, is this history repeating itself again?
I think it's an excellent way of setting that up. So it definitely is part of that. I think part of this is human capital management, understanding and helping our people. Also the HR component of it to make sure we're managing things well. And COVID is one that really brought this to light, is around supply chain and the gaps in our supply chain and what can we do to shore those up and have much more efficient and effective processes, as well as data to help us understand what's happening within our four walls.
So a firm like Avaap, that as you mentioned historically did Infor implementations, they divest that, they work with Workday now. Infor, Workday, Oracle, I mean, those are kind of the three that are highly considered when it comes to ERP and healthcare. Why consider a third-party implementation firm in the first place, as opposed to having a Workday implement their own ERP software?
So what we have validated through is that just when they implement that type of, this touches almost every single component of your health system. And it's a very heavy lift to go in and replace. So having someone there that really understands the application and help make those adjustments is something that we have validated. There's a higher score, if you will, or level of satisfaction when they bring in a third-party firm. So that's a big part because of the expertise that they're bringing to the table, some best practices they can share is a big component that we hear from providers as far as why it's really beneficial to engage a third party.
So in talking with healthcare provider organizations for this first look report, what did they say about Avaap specifically? What are some things that they did really well?
Sure. So from Avaap, expertise is a big part that they mentioned. Being able to come in, understand the application, share what are some best practices and how we should be moving about it going forward. Also that change management. And as I mentioned earlier, they acquired Navigator in 2019. So that change management is one where we heard from a handful of their customers to help them understand this is how you did it yesterday. This is why we're going to do it this way tomorrow, and really try to gain that buy-in. And so that's something that we heard from their clients about, really around the expertise and setting them up to be in a position to be successful going forward.
So if I'm a healthcare provider organization, obviously it needs to be Workday if I'm going to consider Avaap, but who else, what's the type of provider organization that would want to consider using the services of somebody like an Avaap to implement Workday?
So that's across. I would think your larger health systems are definitely one that part of that, especially with Workday and what we're trying to accomplish, moving to the cloud and that migration is. I would say your mid to larger health systems are ones that definitely can do this, but this would be not limited to that. So I think it's important to know that this could be on any spectrum. Typically, the firms that are doing this type of work are going to be more your mid to larger size organizations.
And from my understanding, this isn't going to be a rip and replace. We're going to be done over a weekend. These are going to be longer term engagements. We're talking in millions of dollars here too. I mean, this is a long-term relationship.
This is, and in a lot of instances, this could be this could be a multi-year engagement. So this is something that is not an overnight project. This is in a lot of instances, especially with that change management component, this is typically a multi-year, $1 million plus, millions of dollars in this type of engagement.
Well, thank you so much, Caleb. We're really excited to see where ERP implementation goes, and we know that you'll be the one right there at the forefront giving us those insights.
Enjoyed the conversation. Thanks, Robbie.
As many of you know, our goal here at Class is to do everything we can to help healthcare providers be as successful as possible with their IT. So if you're watching today and you're aware of an innovative or emerging technology that you think could really make a difference for your peers and how they deliver care, please let us know. We'd love you to drop us a line at our email address, etech@classresearch.com. If you're interested in learning more about Avaap or looking at some of our other research, you can find all that and more at our website, classresearch.com.